Well, welcome back to another episode of the Financially Free Journey podcast, where we aim to dispel the seemingly complex topic of personal finances, money management, debt, savings, investing, and all things small business. Now, today, guys, I have the honor of bringing Ken Coleman himself on the show. And as you guys are all aware, Ken is a best-selling author and the host of the nationally syndicated radio show, The Ken Coleman Show. Ken is also America's go-to career coach and is getting ready to release his new book, From Paycheck to Purpose, where he'll be giving you a clear path to doing work that you love. So, Ken, welcome to the show today.
Thrilled to be with you. Thanks for having me.
Oh my gosh. I am fangirling over here. I actually got your book a couple days ago, had a chance to dive into it. And I got addicted where my kids were like, Mom, are you ever going to stop reading? I'm like, no, I'm doing something important here. So anyway, it's a great book. And I'd love to talk about it because I know this is going to be so helpful to our listeners. So can you just give us a rundown on From Paycheck to Purpose?
Yeah, so what we attempted to do in this book was blow the myth, the mystical, hard to reach journey to actually working on purpose, to do work that you love, that produces a result that matters deeply to you, and also makes you the income that you want. So how do you make money and experience meaning? Is it possible? And the answer is absolutely yes. And so we give the reader 7 stages as though you were going to climb a mountain. Stage 1 is get clear. Stage 2 is get qualified. Stage 3 is get connected. Stage 4 is get started. Stage 5 is get promoted. Stage 6 is get the dream job. And then this final stage is really my favorite because it begins to put, I believe, the legacy wrap around all of our work, and that is to give yourself away, where you're working now not for income, but you're working for impact. And the income is there, the notoriety is there, the success is there, all the things, whatever that means in your particular line of work. But really, it is about leaving a legacy. And so you think about those 7 stages, they really work together. You get clear so that you can get qualified. You get connected so that you can get started. You get promoted so that you can get the dream job. Why? To make the difference that you were created to make. And so the entire premise of the book is that you were created to work, created to contribute, and that work is not a 4-letter word. So we're trying to make meaning not just this thing that a few lucky souls supposedly have with their work, but that it is for everyone. And it all comes down to working and living on purpose. So that's a quick summary of what the book is and why we wrote it.
Well, you brought up such a critical point that a lot of people just work to live right now, right? And they think that there's not the ability. It's like you either have passion and that's great, but you can't make a living, or you can make a living and not have passion. You can live for the weekends and hopefully you'll be able to enjoy your retirement years, right? But you are really helping people find that intersection with the passion and making income. So, I mean, that's the really exciting part, to be able to bring that to light for a lot of people.
Yeah, it is, because I think so many people think that it's all about success is all about talent. And the reality is that you can be very successful in your work with just focusing on your talent. And yet we see so many successful people that are so miserable because there's just more to life than money. And money's good and money can do good. And there's nothing wrong with money, but everybody is searching for meaning. And I found that no matter where you are in the world, no matter what your vocation is, that when you're doing what you were created to do, when you experience meaning, you have enough money. And I think that's really the big picture that we're trying to drive home here, is that you can live on less than you make. You can be fine. But the reality is that money and status, that's not what drives success. What drives success in my mind is that you fill your significant role, the role that you were created to fill.
Wow. And when you said that if you have meaning, you will have enough money,
Yeah,
that is a really deep concept, because you don't have this void that you're trying to fill with more material things and the physical aspect of life. It's deeper than that. You talk about in your book that everybody wants to find their dream job, right? We've been talking about that. And you say that it all starts with clarity. So what are the 3 unique gifts, if you can kind of go over that to help the listeners get more clear?
Yeah, thanks for asking. So every individual has 3 elements to them. Talent, right? We all just come into this world with some talent. Now, you can hone that talent. Think of talent as 2 things for this discussion. Number 1, talent's a lump of clay. It's there, you've got talent. But if you mold it like the potter does on the potter's wheel, then you can shape that talent into really usable skills and skills that create tremendous value. Then think of talent as your tools, premium power tools to get the work done. And so then the second element that every human has is passion. This is a deep, abiding love for someone, something, some work. And there is a type of work, a task, a role, a function that you love. You just do. You love it. You have high emotion for it. You get excited when you think about it. You get excited when you're engaged in it. And then high devotion. You're willing to put in the hard work to get good at it. You don't want to stop it. You can't wait to get back at it. That's passion. You love the work. And then finally, mission is the result of the work that matters most to you. So you think of the military when we use that term most of the time. And so they're on a mission, which means there is something they are looking to achieve, to accomplish. It's a very clear outcome. And so all work creates results. So when we look at what is our missional results, what are the results we most want to accomplish or produce, now we have total clarity. And so we put them all together. And so your purpose is as simple as this. You were created to use what you do best. That's your talent. To do work you love. That's your passion. To produce results that matter deeply to you. Mission. When talent, passion, and mission are in alignment, they come together and they're like a neon blinking arrow pointing out into the world where there are multiple jobs and career paths and even dream jobs. But it is the alignment that keeps you on purpose and allows you to fulfill your purpose. And people look at you and say, wow, you were born for this. And that is exactly correct. So that's how you get clear. And then the jobs and the career path, those will reveal themselves with just a little bit of research, as long as we know the direction we're supposed to go.
Do you think a lot of people misconstrue their mission as the money, right? Where it's like, well, I work because I want to make a lot of money. And they think that that's an adequate mission for the work that they do.
Yeah, I think that's because we live in a world where everything has been monetized. And so we look at how much money we make and we tie that to our meaning. And you can't do that. That's an absolute false equation. Your job status or your job title or the amount of money you make has nothing to do with your worth. Frankly, you're invaluable. Humans are invaluable. They have tremendous value to give. And every human has unbelievable worth. And yet we kind of compare ourselves, and that's just the nature of monetization. I love money. There's nothing wrong with money or currency, but there's no other way around it. I mean, there was a point, if you go way back hundreds and hundreds of years ago where it was less about money, it was all about land, right? And that's just how we are as humans. This person has more land, well, they're better than me. Or you could certainly make that case. It's wrong, but that's where our heads go. And so therein lies the real value of knowing what your purpose is, because when you realize the unique role that you were created to fill, I was created to use my talent, to do my passion, to produce my mission. And when I find that, that's what I'm supposed to do. So I'm not comparing myself to other people. I'm not worried about monetary value. I'm worried about delivering on my purpose. And so I'm not saying that you're not going to be dealing with comparisons. I'm not saying that those voices completely silence. What I am saying is that you begin to see what really, really matters to you. and that is your unique contribution. And that's where peace and true happiness and joy come, because we realize we're being who we were created to be.
Do you think people have a hard time identifying their true mission? Because as you said, within our society and our culture, a lot of times it stays surface level. So do you think people have a hard time digging deeper into really understanding what they were put on this earth to do?
Oh yeah, I mean it's it's one of the hardest questions in the world to answer, because there really is not an easy construct, and I believe we've created an easy construct. I really do. I don't say that arrogantly. I say that because I've taken thousands and thousands and thousands of phone calls, and I've coached a lot of people in those calls. And when you realize that, wait a second, it's as simple as asking myself, what do I do best? What work do I love to do? What results do I want to create? You're telling me it's that simple? Yeah, it is. And so when we give a human being the construct to be able to search their heart, and then not just search their heart, but then take that answer, that purpose statement that we create in the Get Clear Career Assessment. We've got an assessment that walks people through in 20 minutes. We just ask all the questions for you. All you got to do is be honest. And we produce a report that'll tell you that'll fill out your purpose statement. And you look at that purpose statement over and over and over, and you begin to explore and wonder like you did when you were a child, then the answers begin to reveal themselves. But a lot of people never run into that. And I wish I could give it to everybody in the world, but I won't be able to. But when we truly dive in and discover who we were meant to be, it's not as difficult as you would think to figure out. But a lot of people don't have the construct. And the other thing is, a lot of people never really ask the question, because by the time you reach the 9th, 10th grade, there's all of a sudden all this pressure for you to have incredible grades and get a good SAT or ACT score so that you can get into a really good college, get a really good degree, and hope that you get a really good job. And nowhere in there is purpose. It's just survival. And that's the cultural norm, certainly in the Northern Hemisphere. And
Oh,
that's the
absolutely.
problem.
Absolutely. It's like that construct has been built for you. It's like, no, your mission is college. And after that, your mission is corporate America, right? And it's ingrained in us as a society since a very young age. That's what success looks like. That's what people get praised for. That's what people are envious over. And so being able to kind of set your ego aside and not caring about what other people think, and really worry about what you're thinking and how you feel, and the fulfillment that you're receiving from the work that you do. I love that. It's a very deep concept, and again, like the book, guys, it covers this so nicely. Ken, one of my next questions is, one of the biggest hurdles to a job change, or even a job pivot for that matter, is getting qualified. So a lot of people just never make that jump because it's like, I'm not qualified, and it can be overwhelming. But you talk about there being 4 major questions that can help you make a plan. So can you explain a few of those to the listeners?
Yeah, I'll go through all 4 really quick. I'll list them out and then we'll unpack them. So the first one is the education question. What do I need to learn? So is this truly a college degree? If it's not the only way or the best way, then it shouldn't be a college degree. It could be a certification, could be an associate's degree, an online training course. But at the end of the day, if once you get clear in stage 1, now we're talking about stage 2, get qualified. So once I'm clear on what I want to do, the work I want to do, I've got to ask myself, what do I need to learn? That's the education question. Second question is, what do I need to do? That's the experience question. And a lot of people get hung up here because everybody gets excited about, well, this is the destination, this is the dream job, this is what I want to do. And yet we forget that, well, we got to step up to that. We're going to have to climb to that. And yet, we kind of forget that. And so this experience question allows us to focus and go, oh, well, I need this much experience and this, and this. So how do I get that? Well, that's why they call them entry-level jobs. And many times that's the best way and the only way to get the experience. So ask the question and get the answer. What do I need to do to be able to get where I want to go? That's the experience question. That leads to the third question, which is the economic question. How much is this going to cost me? So it's really important that on the outset of a journey, you go, okay, this is the financial cost. So I'm going to have to sacrifice by either selling something, tightening my budget, working harder, longer, different job, second job, third job, whatever, to make more money to be able to do this. So what's the financial commitment that I've got to sign up for? That's the economic question. And then now that we know the money piece, so we know what we need to learn, what we need to do, and how much it's going to cost, that leads to the final question, the expectation question. How long do I think this might take based on the answers to the other questions? This is so vital that we answer all four questions, because as you can see, as you go through this is what I need to learn. This is what I need to do. This is how much it's going to cost. And based on my financial realities, this is how long it's going to take. Now we got ourselves a plan, and we didn't even realize it. We answered those four qualifying questions, and the answers allow us to build a plan. The plan is important because it allows us to have the mindset that we need to be able to stay with it. Okay, if I don't have the answers to those four questions, it's kind of an open-ended, I don't know how long it's going to take, and boy, we can get discouraged very quickly. On the converse, though, when we have those answers, here's what we know about human behavior. When we know what it's going to take, we'll stay with it. We'll stay with it because we can see that there's a clear path, and if I stay with it long enough, I'm going to even get that second wind, which a lot of runners get about halfway through the race, right? They begin to see I'm closer to the finish line than I am to the starting line. I'm going to make it. And psychologically and emotionally, these runners, they get that burst, and it's called the second wind, but it is nothing more than the psychological, the mental, and the emotional coming to the realization, I'm going to do it. I can do it. We're going to do it. And we begin to quicken our pace. So same thing with this very purposeful climb. Those questions create the plan that allow you to have the patience to go along with the persistence.
Well, having a clear end goal in mind, like you mentioned with the analogy with a runner, it will keep you on the path forward where you're not every little shiny thing that comes up along the way. It's like, okay, you know what, I'm going to go try this now, because you have that clear end in mind. And a thought I had when you were talking about the experience question is you mentioned maybe getting into an entry-level position is the only way in. And again, within our society, the corporate structure, we're taught to climb the corporate ladder, quote unquote. But sometimes doing a side step or even a step down is really the only way up. And that's something that's seems to be undervalued and not talked about enough. And so that, the experience portion of this really made me think about that concept.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Experience is what steals us, early on for when we're going to need it later on. I can think back on my journey when I started into broadcasting. I don't know how much you know of my story, but I mean, when I started out, I'm 33. I have my own small business, and I'm doing festivals. I'm hosting festivals where I'm introducing balloon artists and mimes, and I did high school football, the first live broadcast I ever did. I don't even know if you can consider it live because two people were listening, my wife and the kid next to me. But it was high school football play-by-play on the internet, So those early experiences where I question, why am I doing this? What am I doing? This has got no redeeming value at all. And other than just some cuts at the plate, which is extremely valuable. And then I think as I look back, the most important thing about those early experiences when we're getting started out and we're just kind of getting after it, is that we realize I really do want to do this, because this feels in some ways like a waste of time. I'm away from people I love. I could be doing other things that could be a higher ROI. But when we look back on it, we go, you know what? It was important to see if I really wanted it bad enough. And you got to do those little things, those humble beginnings, those days and weeks where you feel like you're in the wilderness chopping down a tree and nobody sees what you're doing. The fact that you keep doing it and show back up, that's what's so valuable about the early days. They steal you. Those experiences steal you. They're your resolve, because you go, gosh, this is hard, but I really want to do this. Because, if you're not willing to get back out and do that, then you don't want it bad enough. And I didn't say this earlier, but this is the time to bring this up. The reason I choose the word passion for work you love in that methodology and get clear: talent, what you do best; passion, work you love; mission, results that matter to you. The reason I chose the word passion for that middle one, work you love, is because the root word for passion in the Latin is pati. P-A-T-I. And what it really means, and because passion has been now kind of moved and co-opted into two areas, relationship and professionalism. So, passion, are you doing your passion, something you love? And then passion is a romantic, certainly connotation as well. But what it really means is, in the Latin, it means to suffer. And so what's interesting to me and why I love that is that if I love something, passion, I am willing to suffer for it. I am willing to suffer parenting and all the crap that comes with parenting 3 teenagers. That's what Stacey and I are going through right now.
Ooh, Ken.
Love those kids, right? I'm suffering because I'm willing to suffer patience and pain and all of the things that go into parenting. Why? Because I have an unquenchable thirst for those kids to be successful, to be who God created them to be. And that's what every parent feels. And so that's why we suffer through parenting. And so the work, passion to suffer, I'm willing to be patient. I'm willing to face rejection. I'm willing to fail. I'm willing to be lonely. I'm willing, you just fill in the blank. That comes from passion. You're willing to suffer for that desired outcome.
Well, anybody thinking about becoming parents, I want you to remember this conversation with me and Ken, and that it derives from pati, which is to suffer. So think about that long and hard. No, but it's so true because it makes me think about the phrase that growth doesn't happen in your comfort zone, and it happens in the suffering and the uncomfortable. And that's the only way to grow and to become what you want to be professionally within relationships. And so, that experience is critical and the passion is critical. Another part of your book that I want you to expand on is you talk about networking, and networking can be such like a gross word. Like everybody's like, oh, networking, right? But you talk about networking being different than connecting. How do we connect with people the right way? And I'm going to say connect for now on, just so you know, Ken.
Good, because the reason everybody feels gross about networking is because it is gross, because our only connotation with it is we hear network and we go, oh crap, I got to get out and meet a bunch of people really fast and give them my elevator pitch rather. And that feels gross. It's not who we are as humans. We are relational beings, first and foremost. We were made to be in a relationship. And so the idea of networking, the speed dating on steroids where you're, trying to get something out of somebody, when we hear that, it just automatically repels us, and it should. And by the way, that's a good sign. It tells me you're a decent human being. Because when we lose sight of the relational component, we become vampires, like networking vampires. They just, what they're like. You meet them at something and they're just trying to figure out within about a minute if you can help them. And once they realize you can't, they you know what I mean? They just leave you for dead. Like they just bit your neck, suck the blood out of you, and you're on a heap on the floor. They're looking over your shoulder for their next victim. And we've all been around that person. And that's just gross and nasty. Connecting is about true relating. I mean, the root word of relationship is to relate. And if you think of that and you think of it as I want to relate to this person. I'm going to meet this person for the first time. Let's see how I can relate to them. Well, how would I do that? By asking them questions and learning about them and finding common ground, common experiences, common values. That's how we connect. And I think if we can get to the point of, certainly for the extroverts like myself, the introverts are really the great connectors. I may be braver than some of my introvert friends as it relates to walking into a big crowd and getting to know people. But the introverts, the people who like that one-on-one conversation and they go deeper, that's what we can learn from. And as you know, I write about that in the book. I think that we can all learn something about the art of connecting from introverts. And really, it's simple. They value the one-on-one. They value going deeper. And I think that's the point I'm making in the book, is that you're going to get much farther faster by making true connections, adding value to other people, asking for knowledge, asking for wisdom. That is going to get you way further than asking for an opportunity.
Oh, I love that. It's not what they can do for you, but more of what you can do for them, right? I mean, it sounds cheesy, but if you can dig deeper on that connection level as an introvert would, and it build a real relationship and connection that's lasting, then that will in turn be a mutually beneficial connection later on for both of you as human beings, but also in other aspects of your life.
Well, it's interesting what you just said, and I think I'm glad you brought it up because I want to expound on it because I think a lot of people hear that, and that's what's so intimidating about connecting. It's really not what you can do for them tangibly, because I get this question a lot. Well, Ken, I want to sit down with somebody who's a producer, somebody who's making it happen. You talk about the proximity principle, Ken. I want to get around them, but I can't offer them anything. And that therein lies a lot of the intimidation around connecting. Very little. It's not about what you can do for them as it relates to a tangible task, because sometimes you can't give them anything or do anything. But here's what you can offer them, and I'm really glad you brought this up, and that is value. So you can make them feel valuable. So therefore, you are offering them value. Every human being wants to feel valuable. So if you're sitting down with somebody that you can't do anything for, but they've got some knowledge and wisdom, and you're going, I can't do anything for them. No, yes, you can. You make them feel valuable. And then as a result of that, you have then provided them value. Let me illustrate. So when you sit down with somebody that really you can't do anything for them, but you need some knowledge and wisdom from them, you sitting down with them and humbly and gratefully saying, I am so honored. I am humbled that you've given me your most valuable resource, your time. I've got some questions. You're somebody that can answer a lot. I've got some questions that I need your knowledge on. I've got some questions where I need your wisdom. And I'm going to make the most of our time. And I've got my pencil. I've got my moleskin here, and I'm ready to take notes. And you make the most of their time and ask them questions, and you soak it up like a human sponge, and they can see that all over you. And then when it's over, you're just as grateful and just as humble as you were at the start. Let me tell you something. When that interaction is done, they are going to feel incredibly valuable. And that is the value. They walk away feeling good about themselves because they poured into you. So this notion that you've got to find a way to do something for somebody, if you can, great, but don't feel the pressure to do that. It's just simply about making them feel valuable in how I described that you bring total value to them. They walk away, and many times they'll connect you to somebody else, or they'll make a recommendation, or months later, years later, as you pointed out, they may do something for you or make a connection for you because of how you treated them, how you made them feel.
Well, and the example that you just gave, Ken, is such an authentic example of connection, because let's say nothing comes from it down the road, right? Quote unquote, because again, we're always looking for what comes from it. The experience that you had with that person, that they were willing to share their time and their expertise, which is most of the time their passion, right? And the value that they felt and the advice that you received is what you got from that interaction. So don't undervalue it for what it is in the moment even. And so I love that because it's so authentic and real. And it seems like the art of connection is being lost a lot of the times because everything's so digital and we've got social media. And so really focusing in and being purposeful with your connections and being authentic is so critical. And that's really what helps you find your purpose.
Yeah, and I want to point out something that something will come out of it, even if it's just knowledge and wisdom.
Yeah.
You will stack that. You will remember it. You will utilize it. So that should be enough. And then opportunities take care of themselves.
Absolutely. So, okay, let's go into, this is something that I know a lot of the listeners will have questions about. Sometimes their dream job is in the field or the profession that they're in, but maybe it's just a promotion away, right? It's like right out of reach. What can they do right now to control their advancement to that position?
Well, yeah, I'm so glad you asked this. You know, this is stage 5, get promoted. We have 2 chapters on this. And the way I would break it down is there's 3 things that you can be doing and 5 things you can be becoming. 3 things you need to be doing, 5 things that you need to be becoming. And I'll roll through these really quick. The first thing is when you're in a position, you're going, okay, I'm on the ladder, but now I want to move up the ladder. So these three things will help you maximize the present. These things you need to be doing help you maximize the present, win the now so that you can get the next. Very simple. Number one, know your role. Number two, accept your role. Number three, maximize your role. I'll break those down. Know your role. What am I talking about there? Yeah, Ken, I know the role. I read the job description. I got the job. Well, that may not be enough. And many times it's not. Knowing your role is not just your job description, but sitting down with your new leader going, what does a win look like? I know what my role is. I know my job description. What does a win look like? At Ramsey Solutions, everybody in the company has a one sheet KRA, and that stands for key results areas. That's what I'm talking about. It's not the job description. It's like, where are you wanting me driving results? What do you expect of me? Because many times poor leaders, they don't set a very clear list of expectations, and therefore you kind of don't have a good idea what a real win looks like other than what's before you based on a job description. We want to go next level. So what is my role? What is expected of me? What does a win look like? All right, now, once we know that, we move on to, I'm going to accept my role. I know what is expected of me, and this may not be my dream job. In fact, it's not in this scenario, but this is how I win the now. There's something about us humans. We'll get into a job, we'll be there 6 weeks, and we're already looking for the next rung. It's like, wait a second. You would have gnawed your right leg off 6 months ago to get here. Now you're here, win the now. So you've got to accept your role. This is an attitude of gratitude. I'm grateful to be on this rung of the ladder because if I win here, and even if I don't move up the ladder in this organization, I'm going to get the experience that I need, and it's going to help me for the future. So I accept my role. It's an attitude of gratitude. Finally, I maximize my role. This is going way above and beyond what the expectations are. Now, this is not sticking your nose into everybody else's business. It's not acting like you are better than everybody else and you start weighing in on everybody else's business. No, what I'm saying is that you maximize the role. You go above and beyond what is expected. You give more, deliver more, look to help a teammate when the teammate needs it. Step into, hey, boss, can I take something off of your plate? It's that kind of attitude and action. And when it's about knowing your role and accepting your role and maximizing your role, you just become promotable. People just go, look at her, look at him. I mean, my goodness, they're crushing it. And people knock on your door and say, hey, we want to promote you. And so that is what you do. And then I'll just quickly say the 5 qualities people can read about in the book. But this is something that everybody can develop. If I've got subpar talent, I'll never be better than average at that talent, no matter how hard I work at it. But with these character qualities, you can develop these. If you were a 0 on a scale of 1 to 10, you can become a 10 on these. And so the 5 qualities are likable. This is simple likability. Number 2 is coachable. So I receive instruction and correction really well. Number 3 is reliable. People can count on me. When I say I'm going to do it, I show up when I'm supposed to show up. I'm reliable. Number 4 is adaptable. This was the number 1 quality that hiring managers were looking for in 2020, according to a LinkedIn study. Adaptability. What do we mean here? You just have a good attitude around change. I mean, we live in a world that's changing so rapidly, and we certainly saw that last year in 2020 and even into this year. And then finally, honorable. This is just high integrity, high character. So that's a quick snapshot of, wait a second. You're telling me if I do these things and I become these things, I'm going to separate myself from the pack? Absolutely. But we make getting promoted too political and too comparison driven as opposed to focusing on ourselves.
When you mentioned knowing your role, accepting your role, maximizing your role, a lot of people get into a role and they say, well, my manager is going to tell me what I need to do to be good, right? And that's depending on someone else's talent and skills as a leader to then lead you to be exceptional at your role. And so it's like taking it into your own hands and understanding that you need to ask a lot of really good open-ended questions to your leader to understand what it is that they're looking for, qualitative and quantitative, right? It's like, what are the actions and activities I need to do? And if I do those, what are the results that will come from this where I know that I'm effective? And if you take it into your own hands, then you're already presenting yourself as someone who is coachable, right? And adaptable and honorable. And so it's a great system to follow to be able to, get yourself in the spotlight when it comes to your leadership, and don't rely on them. Take it into your own hands.
Yeah, absolutely right. Couldn't say it any better.
Well, if there's one thing that the listeners could take away, they had like instant amnesia. There's only one thing they can remember from this episode today. What would you want that to be?
That you were created with talent, things you do well. You were created with passion, a love of doing something, work itself. And there are results that, based on your journey, your environment, that you really care deeply about. And when you realize that, you realize that you were created to contribute, that you were created to work to make this world a better place. And if you think that work is nothing more than a utilitarian function, 40 hours a week, 50 hours a week, and you do it just to be able to make enough money to live and maybe save and make some memories, but you don't see it as a purposeful contribution, you're going to get to the end of your journey and you're going to have tremendous, tremendous regret. And I'm telling you that you were put on this planet to work. There's something that we as humans get in our soul, in the deepest parts of our soul, when we use our talent to do work we enjoy, that makes a difference in the lives of others. And if you can figure out what that is, and you live on purpose and work on purpose, and let me just tell you this, the data shows that when men and women are fulfilled at work, it affects their relationship life tremendously. And the converse is true. If you are miserable, you sense no meaning in your work, the slippery slope is you begin to think that your work doesn't matter and that you don't matter. And that is scary, scary stuff. Everyone has a unique contribution they're supposed to make. If that's the only thing you hear that, believe that, and do something about it.
Guys, you heard it here from Ken Coleman. He's going to take you from just a paycheck, right? Just going to work just to survive, to finding your purpose. And you can find that intersection of having great income and having great passion and fulfilling that role that you are put here to do. And so, Ken, thank you so much for coming on. First of all, when is the book coming out? When will it be available for purchase?
Yeah, so November 9th, it hits stores. So depending on when you air this, it's either available or it will be available November 9th. Folks can pre-order it at kencoleman.com and get an incredible deal. The Get Clear Career Assessment with the book is only $30. So it's a $30 assessment and a $25 book that you get for $30. So you're getting a huge savings. The assessment is really the way I would describe it is it reveals your compass. It shows you which way to go, what mountain you're climbing, and then the book itself helps you climb the mountain. But they can get it at kencoleman.com, an incredible bundle, plus the free audiobook and the free ebook with it. So we've got some incredible pre-sale bundles right now at kencoleman.com, or you can get it wherever books are sold, wherever you want to buy it.
Guys, you can get the assessment with the book, the audio, the ebook. I mean, when there's a bundle available, you got to act on that. So kencoleman.com, you'll be able to find that for pre-sale. Ken, is there anywhere else that you'd like the listeners to follow you or check you guys out?
Join me on the gram, as the kids call it, Instagram,
yes,
at Ken Coleman. We're putting out a lot of helpful, practical, motivational, aspirational, and very practical content. And I would love for you to follow me there, DM me. You certainly can call the radio show. We are YouTube, radio, SiriusXM, podcast, live Monday through Friday, 12 to 2 Eastern Standard Time. People can call me, and I can coach them up. We'll change your name, your location, if you got a sensitive subject or you don't want your coworkers to recognize you or whatever. 844-747-2577. The phone number is at kencoleman.com. But, listen, to do a broadcast every day for 2 hours where I just talk to men and women and coach them up on these very important issues, it's the joy of my life. So if you want to reach out that way, come on. I'd love to help you.
Oh, guys, take them up on that. You better call into the show. I'll make sure to link this all in the show notes. Thank you again, Ken, for coming on and giving us your time and your wisdom. And guys, from paycheck to purpose, I will make sure to link everything in the show notes. And as always, thank you so much for tuning into the show today. If you're not following us on Instagram and TikTok, it's at Financially Free Journey. And I post daily tips and motivation to help you with your financial goals. Until next time.